Hey guys, welcome back to Dynasty Trading Room. Today, we are going to be talking about 6 sleepers and rookie drafts that you should be drafting if you want to get the best value out of each and every one of your picks. These guys could end up surprising, and as you know, if you nail these later round picks, your team has a way better chance of competing for a championship in your Dynasty League. And as a reminder, if you love Dynasty content, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly videos outlining all these players and their profiles as we get closer to the NFL Draft. The thing about this list is that a lot of these players will be taken in the second and even the third round of Dynasty rookie drafts, so it'll cost you next to nothing to get them on your team as a stash. They'll be end of bench guys with a ton of upside when they end up proving their worth to your Dynasty lineup. As we know, in Dynasty, waivers aren't a huge part of the league. So the main way to supplement your team is the rookie draft. So making sure to hit on that first round pick, but also those later round picks which are equally as important to supplement your roster, is vital to creating a championship team. These 6 sleepers have a great chance of coming in and contributing right away, which is exactly what you want. Without further ado, we're going to get into the first player. It's Elic Ayomanor, wide receiver from Stanford, and yes, his stats did take a step down from last year, but it's not like the offense around him was doing any favors. I think he could fit as an X receiver into a lot of the systems in the NFL. He's got good size at 6'2", 210 pounds. He had a pretty solid combine as well. He's a guy whose film I got into pretty recently, so my profile of him isn't exactly as complete as some of the other guys in this list that I've spent more time looking at. But something I like about him is that at his size, he's pretty explosive off the line, creating separation with those releases. That's important for an X receiver, especially a bigger receiver like Ayomanor, who yes, can use his frame to be physical, but also needs at least a bit of speed to get off the line. He's also a pretty solid route runner at his size, especially in the intermediate portions of the field. While his routes aren't super crisp, they do get the job done, and he has solid separation skills across the board. Not all receivers rely on the sharpest breaks in their routes. Some of them are more physical, like Ayomanor. He's able to take advantage of his size pretty well in box out. He's also pretty solid at settling into the holes in zone coverage. I think he could be a low-end wide receiver 1 or a high-end wide receiver 2 for an NFL team. I expect him to go in the late second or maybe very early third round. But again, if he goes in the late second, his odds of getting a better landing spot skyrocket. And as we know, in Dynasty, landing spot is one of the most important things of the entire draft. Not only for the player, but for the type of role they're going to get. For Ayomanor, this could go a ton of different ways, but I'm excited to see what team drafts him in April. Something that I love about Ayomanor, that I also like about a prospect that's somewhat similar in Iowa State's Jaden Higgins, is that he's a really fantastic blocker, meaning that he's not going to come off the field that much. When they run the ball, they're not going to have to sub in a different receiver, because Ayomanor is an aggressive blocker that can move defenders downfield, that uses his big frame to drive defenders where he wants them to go, creating lanes for the running game. A lot of guys who can master that are every down guys in the NFL. I think he could be a really good vertical threat in the NFL. Obviously, his size helps him out there, and he has solid speed as well to beat defenders downfield. So as I watch more and more film on Ayomanor, I'm liking his Dynasty outlook even more, and I think he could be a steal in the 2025 NFL Draft. Now, the downside with Ayomanor, sometimes his hands can be pretty inconsistent. That's one of the biggest knocks in him as a prospect. Obviously, to build trust with that quarterback and with the coaches, you have to have consistent hands, so that's something he's going to have to work on. But it's not like he has a huge liability in that department. It's just kind of one of the things he struggles with and will have to work on at the next level. He's also not the most explosive route runner like I referenced. Again, he can get open with that physicality. We'd like to see him be a little bit more explosive with his routes. Next up is Tez Johnson, wide receiver from Oregon, a guy I've outlined before, and who's falling down draft boards because of his size. At the combine, he measured in at 5'10", 154 pounds. If you don't know, 154 pounds is unbelievably light for a wide receiver, and it led to a lot of criticisms of how he can play at the next level. But I'm here to tell you that while Tez Johnson is a high-risk prospect, he's also a very high-reward prospect. He may be one of the riskiest players in the draft, but that risk could pay off tremendously for an NFL GM who has the guts to take him in the middle rounds of the draft. The Oregon product has ridiculous straight-line speed, as well as deep speed and acceleration on his routes. If you turn on the film, you're going to be astounded by how fast this guy is. He didn't run the greatest 40 in the world, and when you watch some of his tape at Oregon, you're going to be confused by that, because he looks ridiculous with the speed. And frankly, I don't care that he didn't run the greatest 40-yard dash time in the world. If it's on the film, I think it's going to show up on game day. I think he's going to step into the NFL as one of the fastest players in the entire league day one. Dynasty Trading Room was lucky enough to go to the 2025 Reese's Senior Bowl this year, and there, Tez Johnson was probably one of the best receivers there. His route running was absolutely ridiculous. He was winning nearly every one-on-one route, shining against that man coverage. Even when they tried to press him off the line, he was too shifty at the line of scrimmage, and his speed and his crisp breaks on his routes were just too much for corners. I think he's a very high upside vertical threat at the next level. And again, something you're not going to hear too much about, at Oregon, he was in motion nearly all the time, so he wasn't having to face press. I think if an NFL offensive coordinator knows what they're doing, they're going to put him in motion a lot, eliminate a lot of the worries about his size. And yes, the injury concern can still be there because he is so light. when he goes in motion so much, some of that worry about his size can be tampered down because he won't have to face press so much. Again, the main knocks in him is that he didn't have a very good NFL combine and that his size is not where you want it to be. But I think Tez Johnson can be a fantastic receiver at the NFL level and be a trailblazer for guys his size. Next up is Jordan James, running back, also from Oregon. He measures in at 5'10", 205 pounds. Jordan James is one of my favorite sleepers in this entire draft class, and he's a guy that's going in the third round of rookie drafts and sometimes even undrafted. Something I absolutely love about him on tape is that he's super physical, not afraid to meet defenders with contact, but he matches it perfectly with fantastic contact balance. When you have that blend of physicality and contact balance, it's really hard to bring you down, and that is absolutely true of Jordan James. I think he can fill the role of a goal line or power back pretty much immediately at the NFL level if a team's in need of that, and landing spot is going to be absolutely vital for him in Dynasty. But if he ends up in a good spot, I'm trusting his physicality, his ability to run over defenders, and some of his other fantastic qualities like his patience at the line of scrimmage. And while he doesn't really have great long speed, he does have solid burst, capable of getting downfield quickly, kind of a similar quality to Ohio State's Quinshon Judkins. One other quality I love about Jordan James is his vision at the line of scrimmage. He's capable of sitting behind the line for a little bit, waiting for blocks to develop, and then making a sharp cut with his impressive lateral quickness that gets him a ton of extra yards, and then he's able to use the fact that he's a bowling ball pretty much, run north to south, and run over defenders with that physicality. I also think he's a little underrated as a receiver. He wasn't used that way very much at Oregon, but I think his hands are solid, and if he's called upon, I think he could be an okay receiving back in the NFL. But again, I think his main role is going to be that power back that can push the pile, run over defenders, and use that physicality to his advantage, and he may be one of those goal line warriors at the next level, hawking touchdowns from a starting running back that makes him fantasy relevant right off the bat. But again, I think he has the upside to have a consistent role in an NFL offense, and I'm really excited to see where he lands, because I truly believe in him as a prospect, but it all depends on if he gets the opportunity or not. He's kind of an old school running back, and in this absolutely stacked running back class, I think he's being slept on way too much, and you should draft him in the third round of your rookie drafts. Now the downside with James, he's not super explosive or elusive. He can make people miss, but he relies on more of his contact balance and physicality like we've discussed, so he may not be the most complete back in the world, but I'm still very high on his outlook. Also, that long speed is a concern. He's not really a home run hitter, but just because he's not the flashiest prospect doesn't mean he can't be productive. I think he can step in and be really efficient. Another knock on him is his pass protection, but again, I think that's something that can be coached up really easily at the NFL level. But also, one other thing to note is that even though I think he is a solid receiver, he wasn't used like that very much. And because he's not the most elusive guy in the world, it doesn't really make sense for him to be deployed on every single one of those types of packages, so he may lose snaps because of that, but frankly, I don't care that much. He's the type of running back you love to watch play, and that's true on film, so I think he has the chance to be a really good running back in the NFL. Next up is Devin Neal, running back out of Kansas. While being a Mizzou fan, highlighting a running back from Kansas isn't my favorite thing in the world. I have to give credit where credit is due. Devin Neal is a really good player in this NFL draft class. He measures in at 5'11" and 213 pounds, solid size for a running back. And something I like about him is that he's had that workhorse role before. He's been able to hand a ton of touches when he's at Kansas. He's obviously one of the best offensive players in Kansas Jayhawks football history. So he's no stranger to a heavy workload. So if he's called upon like that at the NFL level, he will be able to answer the call, I assure you. When you think about Devin Neal on tape, he's the type of guy that plays the game at his own pace. He's a super patient runner, especially at the second level, waiting for blocks to develop downfield. He has solid speed and is able to get around the edge pretty quickly. I think he's one of those guys that's pretty solid outside the tackles. And when you watch him, you'll see how good his patience is, navigating around blocks, putting himself in the most advantageous position possible to get yards downfield. NFL teams are going to see his college production and be impressed by it, and then turn on the tape and see how patient he is as a runner, and how good his vision is, as well as how good he is at changing direction quickly. And has high upside to fill a role in the backfield immediately, with serious upside to become a starting running back. Again, like James, in this stacked running back class, Devin Neal is a guy who's going to be slept on. He's probably going to be a late second round pick in most rookie drafts, but for me, he's my running back 7 in the class. Like James, he's a guy you love watching film of. It's so much fun to see him play, although for different reasons. I think he could be an awesome player at the next level if he lands in the right spot and is given the opportunity. Kind of the main knock on Devin Neal is he doesn't have great contact balance for his size, and that is a concern, but at the same time, every player has concerns like that, and I love the way he plays the game. So I think Devin Neal is a serious sleeper, not only among running backs, but among the entire class in terms of his ceiling and what kind of workload he could receive. Next up is Terrance Ferguson, tight end for the Oregon Ducks. And yes, there have been several Oregon prospects in this video. He measures in at 6'5", 247 pounds. He's one of my favorite tight end prospects in this entire class. And while this tight end class has shown itself to be very, very deep, Ferguson fits into the mold as one of those guys that I think could step in and be a starter within a couple years. And when you're taking players at the very end of your rookie draft, those late round flyers of guys you're not sure are going to make an impact or not, Terrance Ferguson is a guy I would make a bet on to be a pretty good NFL tight end. First off, he's extremely athletic. Although the top 2 prospects at the position didn't test at the combine, Ferguson came out on top among his entire position at several drills at the combine, most notably the 40-yard dash. He ran a 4.63 40-yard dash, which was the best at his position, highlighting that athleticism and how fast he is. He was a very good receiving tight end for the Ducks, and that showed up at the combine, but it also shows up on tape. I think he's a very good route runner for his position. At the 2025 Reese's Senior Bowl, we saw how good of a separator he was, consistently getting yards of separation from defensive backs and linebackers. He has really crisp breaks at the top of his routes, and his speed helps him out in that area a lot. He has the skills where if he gets the opportunity, he could be a day one contributor in the passing game for an NFL offense. And if you turn on film, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. His yards after catch ability is extremely underrated, but I think a very solid part of his game. And something I talk about a lot is that modern NFL offenses are wanting tight ends that are very good receiving threats, and while having a blocking tight end is very important, a lot of offenses are using one tight end blocking packages and having one very explosive, good route running tight end to throw the ball to. I think Terrance Ferguson can fit into that mold really, really well. Again, he's great after the catch, a good route runner, he can separate well, which we saw at the Senior Bowl and all over the tape. I'm really excited to see him compete for a starting role at the next level, and again, I think depending on the landing spot, he could do that really well. He also has really solid size at 6'5", 247, kind of prototypical tight end size, and him being able to move that well with that frame speaks volumes to how much of an outlier he is athletically. And we can seriously see him come off the board on day 2 of the NFL draft, skyrocketing his dynasty outlook, and if you're still able to get him at the later part of rookie drafts, you should draft him. He's one of my favorite tight end prospects for a while, and I think if he develops, he could be a very good tight end in fantasy football. The final prospect I'm going to talk about is Brashard Smith, running back from SMU, who stands at 5'10", 196 pounds. First off, the guy is a really good route runner out of the backfield, and that's something he showed both at SMU and at the Reese's Senior Bowl. He was able to absolutely toast linebackers in the deep, intermediate, and short parts of the field. And while his size isn't the biggest, it really helps him as a route runner, creating separation. And his background as a wide receiver helps him out a lot because he has those soft hands, and he's very used to catching the football. So I think he's an extremely high upside receiving back that could play a role in NFL offense very quickly because he is a kind of a specialized prospect in that sense. Now, he was extremely productive on the ground, over 1,300 yards this past season at SMU as a rusher. He was also very productive as a receiver. I think that could be more of his role at the NFL level. Because he's more of a specialized player and that he could come in as a receiving back, I think he's worth the pick at the end of rookie drafts because he could earn that role immediately. Again, we saw Tyrone Tracy, running back for the New York Giants, come in as a late round pick and shine in his rookie because he was given an opportunity as a running back with a receiver background, don't forget. And he was very productive in both the rushing and the receiving game. And so Brashard Smith, with a similar background, played receiver before, could have a similar rookie year if given the chance. I think maybe more of a trend we see to see receivers switch positions as a running back because catching the football is a very valuable skill to have and something that if he earns a starting role will keep him on the field at all times. Smith is a guy that I'm pretty sure is going to be available at the end of every single rookie draft, so you won't have to pay up for him, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him become an early down contributor very early in his career. Again, like I've said before, this running back class is absolutely stacked, and so some guys that may have gone higher in a weaker class are going to go later on day 3 probably. Maybe Smith ends up in a weaker backfield that allows him to take more rushing reps on top of the receiving reps he's already going to get, so I think his outlook is pretty good as one of those specialized prospects. Don't forget, taking these sleepers that could end up being very good players could take your dynasty team all the way to a league championship. This is the reason you build up draft capital in the middle rounds, so you can take these late round flyers that could be extremely valuable. All 6 of these guys I'm very high on, and I will be taking several of them in my rookie drafts across my dynasty leagues, and I'm excited to see where they land this April in the NFL draft, as well as watch more film on them leading up to it. If you love Dynasty Fantasy Football as much as I do, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel, because we put out quality dynasty content every single week on this channel. We have a variety of videos like mock drafts, player breakdowns, lists and rankings, and much more, so don't forget to subscribe. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Make sure to comment down below if you agreed or even if you disagree with some of my takes. I'll be glad to explain to you why I think what I think. Again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm Joe, and this is Dynasty Trading Room.